Hey, what up, guys? So Caleb here again. Just a bit earlier today, I was looking on YouTube and then found a video from another designer talking about like if a designer should learn how to code or not. So I thought like maybe I should make a video to talk about that as well. I've been thinking about making a video to talk about this topic in a long time, but um, and since I like right now somebody already covered his opinion, so I thought maybe I should give some of my input as well. So I'm gonna cover three things in this video. So the first thing I'm gonna talk about is, do you need to know how to code? So I'm gonna talk from a very objective perspective, so I don't want to give like too much of my subjective input in it, because like I'm a designer that know how to code as well. I code out most of my design, both like on the website side and on the product sides. But I want to give like be as objective as possible. So the first thing is, do you need to know how to code as a web designer? And the second thing is, who will hire a designer that know how to code? And based on that, right, you kind of know like what kind of employer do you want to attract. And the third thing is like, how do I learn how to code if I really want to get to coding as a web designer? So these are the three things that I'm going to talk about in this video. So let's talk about the first topic first. I want to cover kind of the pros and cons and what is the bottom line in this learning how to code thing as a designer. So the very first thing is like the pro, right? What is the pro of learning how to code? So the very first and I guess like a very more obvious reason is that like you'll be able to attract more employer. That's for sure. Like if you know how to code, your resume will look better, so you will be able to get maybe more job interview because people know that like you can do both. So looking, especially when you're looking for full-time job too, like if you're looking for a job that you have to stay there for, I don't know, a certain amount of time, like 40 hours per week, full-time, so it kind of makes sense for the employer to hire a person that knows both. So then like when you're not designing, then you can focus on developing some things, right? So then they can better use of your time. So that's one thing that maybe they you can attract more employer with. The second thing is like second pro is you will be able to understand better when you're designing. So you will be able to understand the entire process better, how a website is going to get coded out eventually on the website. So when you're designing, let's say when you're designing, you may want to think about like what kind of grid system do you want to put into, what kind of font style or font size should you use. So then like when you're developing it, you don't want to have like odd number, right? So let's say when you have your body fonts to be 14 points, so then it looks like 14 point is looks a bit better than 14.5, right? Something like that. So that you kind of know how a website is going to get coded. So when you're designing, you have the development sense in mind as well. So that could be the second thing. So these are the two pros that I can. There are a lot of other pros, I think, but I don't want to get like too many, because I want to kind of focus on the most important ones. So talk about the cons, right? So what are the cons about learning how to code? The first big one is, I think learning how to code definitely take a lot of time, take a lot of your time. Like develop, it's just like design. Like you need to take time to practice and be very good at it, right? So it takes a lot of time to be very good at it, and that's why there are developers. That's why there are developers that only develop websites, right? If all the designers they know how to develop websites, then there no need to be a front end developer, right? Like these kind of people do not have to go to school and just learn how to do front end. Then everybody can do both, right? So even myself right now, I've been developing website for about what, like five years, I think. I would never say that I'm as good as a front end developer that only does front end things, because these, like, even front end development is not just HTML and CSS. It's not just that. Like front end development has a lot of other parts in it as well, and it's hard to get like very good at all of them. So front end, they have JavaScript. JavaScript is huge. Like it's not just making things pop up and know how to move. JavaScript is really huge, and from JavaScript you have Angular.js, or you have like React.js, and there's a bunch of other things as well. It's not just as simple as you think. So that's the coin. And the third coin is knowing how to code. Like it takes time, right? But if you think for the long term, think, let's say like for 10 years later, does it still matter? knowing how to code as a web designer, because you may already know that right now in the market there are a lot of softwares coming out. Even Adobe have done it. Many other website has done it. So you can design on those software, and then they can generate your code directly on the website. So you don't even need to tap into actually coding. You don't have to write your own code. So everything can be generated from your design and directly go to the websites, and you'll be surprised. I mean, like 5 years back then, I think they have Adobe, they have like Adobe Muse or some other software do this kind of thing, but the technology is not really ready back then, so your code is not really readable. You have a lot of bugs in your code. But right now, as the technology gets better, all of this is kind of getting so much better. So your code, sometimes your code is even better than a person can write it. So if you look at a 10 years timeline, right, this kind of skill may not be necessary anymore because the technology is ready. They can just generate code, much more perfect code. And for example, right now I see some of the agency I love the most, right? When I go to their websites, a lot of their code is actually generated by computer. So the entire website is generated by computer. It's not hand coded. So I think the market trend is moving towards people using just a faster method to develop their websites, and that's totally okay. I mean, why do you want to spend time to do this when computer can does it? Think about sort of like driving a manual car, and right now everybody is sort of driving automatic. It's the same similar theory. So you should still learn how to drive manual, but a lot of car you buy right now nowadays is automatic, right? Because the technology is catch up, and you don't need to manually do things anymore, especially for a web designer, and you only know the surface of web front-end development. I think this kind of skill is gonna get like kind of faded out. So talk about the bottom line now. Like, what is the bottom line for knowing how to develop websites? What's the bottom line, right? So I think development and design is two very different skill sets. So it's two different things. You like my suggestion for you is find and know which one do you want to focus on. So let's say if you want to focus on development, that's perfect. Focus on development and get very good at development, and then maybe you want to know some design and do it. Vice versa, if you're a designer, if you say that you're a designer, you should definitely focus a lot of your time to master your design skill. And you have to give, like just like the other video I made, like finding a niche, right? You have to give people a reason to hire you for first. So let's say if you're applying for a design job, right? Before people know about if you know how to develop things, they want to look at your portfolio first. If your portfolio looks bad, they're not even consider other skills, right? So you don't want people to you don't want to give people an impression that you're sort of know both, but you're not perfect at either. So you definitely want to focus your skill, be very focused first, and then after you have time, then you can think about learning the other skill sets. But if you're looking to work for some high quality studio, or even like big corporations like Facebook, Google, they will never need you to do both. Like they will have a team or some kind of developer to develop your websites, because you know they want to produce the best quality of work. They don't need a designer, a senior designer, and produce junior development work. So again, right, I think it really depends on like what kind of target audience do you want to attract. When I was working at MetaLab, they never require me to develop my own websites, my own design, because they have a team for it. They need to produce the A plus work. So also like if you look at Dribbble, right, they have the top 10 designers, and most of their website they design, they have another very good developer to work with them together on the project, because they need to ship the A plus products, not products that are very good in design and sort of bad in development. I mean, you can do both. Like right now I kind of do both as well, but I would never say that like my front end development skill is as good as my design skill. So now like I want to get into the last point. Like if you really want to know how to develop websites, like if that's something that you really want to get on, and I do think that there's a big benefit of like knowing how to develop your website as well. Especially in my case right now, I do develop some of my design when I'm working with the clients, because they're on a budget. They don't want to hire two people to do that. So there's benefits to that as well. But like how did you learn how to develop things, right, when you're a designer? And if you follow my channel, like I'm a firm believer of kind of free knowledge. Like I want to learn things that is the cheapest way possible, or even like free. And when I was learning how to develop websites, right, I've never paid for anything when I'm learning, because the thing is, there's a lot of websites and a lot of free knowledge online, especially like coding. Like coding is something that for the internet, right? So there's a bunch of free kind of material that you can learn from. And my recommendation is go to 3W Schools. I'm gonna have links down below as well. Go to 3W Schools. If you want to learn HTML, they have 20 lessons, step by step, for you to teach you how to do coding, this basic stuff, CSS, HTML, some JavaScript. If you want to learn PHP, some backend stuff, they have everything on 3W Schools. I think it's much more than enough for you to get started if you want to learn development. And for YouTube channel as well, I think there's a channel called New Boston. If you learn some like hardcore development things like React.js and all this, you can go on New Boston, the channel. I'm gonna have the link down below as well. They have like 200 videos on like a lot of different development languages topics. I learned from that as well. I think they're good. They're crazy good. They hire people to teach on the channel for free. So there's just a lot of like free materials that you can learn from, and you don't have to pay a buck for it. And to practice, I think as a designer, you already have a lot of work that you've already done in the past, so you know how to develop your own websites. So practice those, practice to develop your own design. I think that's a very good point to start, especially developing your own portfolio. So that will be a great start. So that's all I want to cover in this video. I think it's a bit heated topic, because I've gotten some of my questions. People ask me, should I learn how to develop websites? Should I tap into development? And this is my answer for all that. I'm trying to keep it like pretty objective, but again, like I think that's all that I have to say. If you like the content, again, subscribe to this channel and give this video a thumbs up, and then I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Cheers.